everyone. Welcome back to Reddit Affair Diaries. How's your day going so far? I hope it's been great, but if not, don't stress, you're in the perfect spot to relax and dive into some juicy relationship stories. There's always something new and unexpected waiting around the corner here. Before we jump in, leave a comment and share something good from your day. Let's keep the good vibes going and start this story together.
This Reddit story comes from the r/relationship subreddit, where the original poster seeks advice on ending their engagement.
I love my fiancé, or at least I think I still do. We've been together for over 2.5 years, and in that time he's become a huge part of my life. We share our routines, our small rituals, and more memories than I can count. He's never been perfect, but I know he cares about me. He's the kind of person who shows up when he says he will, who cares deeply about keeping his commitments. There's a comfort in that. It makes me feel secure, as though he'll always be there, regardless of the ups and downs. Yet, beneath the surface, I'm beginning to wonder if we're slowly becoming incompatible in a way that can't be bridged by love alone. There are things I appreciate about him, things that drew me in from the start. He has these moments where he surprises me with his insight, his quick humor, or even his quirky way of seeing the world. But there's also this other side, his intense particularities about life. It's almost as if he can't find enjoyment in the small things without some challenge cropping up. It shows up in the foods he eats, the activities he enjoys, even in the way he interacts with the world. And it spills over into every part of our lives together. When we try to do something fun, it usually ends up being more work than relaxation. I like going out, seeing new places, trying new things, but with him, it feels like a chore. We might have to leave early because his head hurts, or he's bored, or he simply doesn't like the food or vibe. He's not outgoing, and neither am I really, but I enjoy the occasional outing. Being with him, though, has made these experiences feel like obstacles, as though I have to constantly adjust my plans and hopes around what he can or can't handle. His migraines, his sleep issues, his boredom, all these things mean we either cancel plans altogether or leave midway. And each time, I find myself feeling a little more distant, a little more worn out, as though I'm being pulled in opposite directions. Then there's the financial strain, and I don't mean that he's bad with money, but there's an imbalance that has seeped into our lives in ways that are difficult to ignore. I earn significantly more, and when we go out, it's usually me who's paying. At first, I didn't mind. He was between jobs and trying to figure things out. But 2.5 years later, the cycle continues. He finds jobs that burn him out or barely cover his personal expenses, and before I know it, he's back at square one. Every time he tells me he's considering leaving a job, I feel this pit in my stomach, knowing I'll have to carry more of the load. Again. Beyond finances, it's like every shared responsibility has to be explicitly requested. If I want help with the dishes, I need to ask. If I need him to contribute to household expenses, I have to bring it up. Even driving, it's always me unless I specifically ask him. And I know he's willing when I do ask. He'll step up when prompted, but there's something exhausting about always having to be the one to point out what needs to be done. I don't think it's malicious or that he means to be difficult, but I can't help but feel like I'm taking on two roles, partner and caretaker. Each request feels like I'm pushing him to take on burdens he doesn't really want to carry, and it's draining to feel that imbalance day in and day out. Then, everything came to a head when we moved to Europe. This was a huge step for both of us, and while I had some hesitations, I eventually grew excited. I was falling in love with this new chapter of my life. The shift to Europe was largely his idea. He painted this vision of a new life, of fresh opportunities, of getting away from the pressures of our old life. He wanted it badly, and I decided to support him despite my reservations. But as soon as we arrived, I could see the signs. He hated the food. The air triggered his allergies in ways we couldn't fix, and his comfort zone, which I had hoped he might expand, felt tighter than ever. While I found myself drawn to the new experiences around me, the culture, the history, even the mundane daily life here, he was constantly finding reasons to feel out of place. And it left me torn. Part of me wanted to coax him, to show him the beauty I was discovering. But another part of me wondered if I was fooling myself. His ultimatum arrived sooner than I thought. Either we make plans to return to the US together, or he would go back alone. I can tell that, deep down, he's not ready to leave alone. It's not just about love or even the fear of being apart. there's a practical side too. Without my income, he would struggle to maintain the lifestyle he's accustomed to. And while I know he would miss me, there's a lingering feeling that his attachment to our relationship is tied to his own security, as much as it is about us. If I pushed hard enough, I could probably get him to stay another year, maybe even longer, but something feels wrong about that. I don't want him to stay here just for me, especially when it's clear that every part of him wants to be back in the US. But every fiber of my being is resisting the idea of telling him it's over. I keep imagining the hurt in his eyes, the confusion, the way he might feel lost or betrayed. If he makes the decision to leave, then at least it won't be me forcing him out. But I don't think he will. I think he'll keep pushing, keep asking if I love this new place more than him, and I don't know what to say. It's not a simple yes or no. There are so many layers, our history, his needs, my own growth. I'm terrified of coming across as unkind or uncaring, as though I'm rejecting who he is at his core. I don't want him to feel like he's not enough, even if, in some ways, I feel like our paths are diverging. So here I am, feeling this impossible weight. How do I tell him that I'm questioning us, that maybe we've both been holding on because it's easier than facing the truth? How do I explain that the version of myself I am here feels fuller, freer, less weighed down by expectations? I don't want to hurt him. I don't want him to feel like I'm tearing down everything he's tried to build with me. And yet, here we are, two people who love each other, but perhaps aren't meant to walk the same path anymore. As I sit here, the city lights casting soft shadows on the walls, I know the decision is there, waiting for me to give it life. I want to be kind, to be fair, but I also want to be honest. And as painful as it is, I realize that honesty is the kindest gift I can offer him now.
Relevant comments by Reddit users. Comment 1. There's no truly easy way to break up with someone, but from what you've described, it sounds like you both have different goals and ideas for the future. The best thing may be to end it and be honest about why you feel this way. He might try to convince you that he can change, but deep down, change is really hard, and he might not be able to. Comment 2. I've been through something similar. My relationship ended, and it hurt, but it made me realize that we both needed to find happiness, even if it meant being apart. I had to return to my country to get back on my feet, but I hoped we could still be together in the future. I now believe that relationships should be based on wanting your partner's happiness, even if that means they find it without you. And sometimes, taking a break doesn't mean you'll never reconnect. The most important thing is for both of you to move on and grow. Comment 3. Are you sure you truly love him? It sounds like he might be holding you back and making you feel guilty for wanting to enjoy life. You pay for everything, do most of the chores, and even change your plans because he isn't comfortable. I was once in a similar relationship, and I eventually felt more like a caretaker than a partner. It sounds like he's using an ultimatum to keep you from finding what truly makes you happy.